Introduce yourself.
My name is Sean Crabtree. I'm the Executive Director of the Lake Cumberland District Health Department.
Beautiful Lake Cumberland.
Beautiful Lake Cumberland, that is correct.
Okay, Sean, if you'll read who is joining us virtually. Thanks.
All right. There is someone joining us by way of the Zoom meeting with the name A. Clark 1. If that is you, will you introduce yourself, please? Everyone should be unmuted.
Be forewarned, you're unmuted.
Is there a Clark 1 out there?
All right, go on to the next one.
Okay, there is someone signed in as AHSN 1806. Would you identify yourself?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes, I'm Karen Cost. I'm chair of the Louisville Metro Board of Health.
All right. There's someone by the name of Andrea Brown that is signed in. Andrea, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Andrea with the Bourbon County Health Department.
All right, thank you. There's someone here, NKY L. Sadler. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
This is Dr. Lynn Sadler, District Director of Health at the Northern Kentucky Health Department.
Jen Harris?
Yes.
Jen Harris, do you want to say anything?
Hi, this is Jen, Todd County Health Department.
Thank you, Jen. Randy Gooch?
Hello, it's Randy Gooch, Jessamine County Health Department.
All right. Bobby Crowder? Bobby, are you there? He probably is. Noah Copeland? There's someone in by way of telephone. I only have the number. It ends with 9927. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Sean. This is Judy Mattingly, the Director of Franklin County Health Department. Sorry I can't be there, but thank you to my board members who are.
You're well represented. Thank you, Judy.
There's someone with a phone number ending 3107. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Diane Miller, Lincoln County Health Department Director.
Thank you. Craig Humball.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Craig Humball, Lexington Fayette County Health Department.
Matt Hunt. Will you introduce yourself? All right, the names on my list keep shifting around as people come in. Is there anyone I've neglected to introduce themselves? If so, please speak up now.
Hello, this is Matt from Barren River District.
Hello, Matt.
Hi.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. And if you have a question, please just type it into the box, into the comment box, and I'll relay that to the presenters.
And also, if you just want to request yourself to be unmuted, if you want to engage in the conversation, just request that in the comment box as well. So we had a couple of people come into the room. Karen, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm going to announce that for the group.
So Karen Blake Clark, right? Karen Blakelock is just joined us. She's from the Lincoln Trail District Board of Health, and also has been a faithful servant as a KALBOH secretary. So. And then, all right, welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Judge.
You want to introduce your judge? I don't know if they heard.
Yeah, this is Judge Pace from Clark County Health Department, Chris Pace.
Anybody write all those names down?
Yes, I got it. We're good.
All right, next on the agenda is the election of officers, and I'm sure all of you are aware that our new commissioner has elevated opportunities for KALBOH through some things that Allison will talk about. So it's a very, I think it's an exciting time for KALBOH. We have a chance to really make some positive changes for the state and to bring those from our local areas up to the state government. So I encourage anyone that's interested in any of those positions to get involved and help out.
So this is time for us to, if there's anyone online that's interested in holding a position, like I said, we've had some faithful members maintain this executive position for the sake of KALBOH. However, our treasurer used to be Judge Eddie Rogers, and he is no longer serving on the Board of Health due to no longer being a judge executive. Our long-term president, Henry Bertram, he has decided to turn that reign over. So we have our interim with Dr. Andreas, who was willing to stay in that position should the will of the group be approval of that, which please. And so, and then Karen, if she's willing to, we have the position of secretary and president, if currently filled. The vacancies are the vice president, which Dr. Andreas would vacate, going to the presidency, and then the treasurer. Again, the importance of stepping up to leadership for KALBOH, as I've said in the past, that if we have some good executive leadership, folks who are willing to reach out to your colleague members across the state and on local boards of health, KALBOH has nothing but potential to grow. And we also have a lot of potential to have some public health influence, not only at the local, but also at the state and the national level. KALBOH is considered one of the most active state affiliates for the NALBO group, and they reach out to us, best practices, what we're doing. They're very interested in transformation, so it really is a nice opportunity to join in on this executive leadership. At this point, as far as your time commitment, we haven't met regularly. We hope that changes as new leadership comes in and you all get reinvigorated to make KALBOH your own. So if you have any questions about the position, the treasurer position, I'd like to see that transpire into a true treasurer position. Right now, I've been taking care of the membership and the finances and the balance sheet and everything, and the treasurer has just the approval piece, but I'd like for the treasurer to take that responsibility away from me, or somebody else has it, just because it's become too much, just as it relates to making sure that we're doing membership recruitment and all of that at that. And so the other issue is we have 2 check signers for KALBOH. Both of them will no longer be serving in Board of Health capacities. So we'll definitely have to have a treasurer, and then we'll have to have some business to make sure that we have our check signers appropriate and get all that transferred. So I'd like to have a healthy discussion, and anybody out there willing to serve in the capacity. And Brian and I have talked about, our ability to use the CADA conference line. So, having conference call meetings, you don't have to travel a lot. We still will stick to kind of our 2 annual meetings, and then everything else being virtual, and limit the travel. But we really need the leadership of the executive office to expand and grow KALBOH. And I think Dr. Andreas is on board with that, and is looking for a healthy team to get with them, stand with them, and help us build this association. So I'd like to have, if you have questions about the position, Georgia's been with KALBOH since its inception, so she's had several board members who have been in leadership positions. Her staff helps with planning and traveling when that happens. So anyway, if you have any questions, we're pleased. Karen, it hasn't been too bad.
We have one comment.
A lot of potential here.
So are you willing to keep the secretary position?
I'm happy because I've been doing better.
You're doing better.
I say that I'm green, so I'm going to see a little bit. Sarah's going to laugh at that. But if you keep me, I will make it. So.
We have one suggestion here. Lynn Sadler says at the end of the election, could you write the names of the people who are elected and where they are from on the whiteboard behind you?
Oh, sure.
You're out of camera range, I think.
I'm too high.
Yeah, you need to be more over this one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, yeah. So go ahead and,
I guess we'd start at the top of the list there. If there's anyone else that's interested in the position of the presidency, entertain those. People shouldn't snicker when I say that.
It's reversing your writing on the screen. Can you write that back?
no, they do.
There's a second.
BLAIKLOC. KLOCK.
This week, call the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. All right, for vice president.
You seconded it, I apologize, because I was
Also, if anyone wants to nominate someone virtually, they can
Yeah,
type
if
it
you
in.
have if anybody out there, wants to nominate themselves or has someone to nominate, please type that in the box.
Is there any restrictions on who can be?
Board member.
It doesn't have to be Board of Health members, it can be directors?
No, it has to be Board of Health members. Yeah, directors are, we serve as kind of just like a participating members. We don't have any vote or can hold an office.
Could you give a quick synopsis about the vice president position?
So, well, truth be told, it's your all's position to, as far as the bylaws go, it doesn't give you a description of what the position is. So, as it relates to running a meeting in the absence of a president, the vice president would step up, they could be the person to set the agenda. It's really an opportunity to build whatever the job description of each office is. As history has made it, I've pretty much been right by the side of the president and I've been doing the role of the president as it relates to the executive director office, whatever you would typically do. So history, the vice president hasn't done anything, right? Yeah. When you were in the vice president role, you really haven't done anything, but that doesn't mean that that's the way it should be. It really needs to keep building upon, the collective action of Kentucky Board of Health members under this association. Yeah. You know, the vice president, the most active role will be the president and the treasurer, because those are the two biggest things that will be operational for the organization. So, time commitment wise, I think the president and the treasurer.
Signatories.
Yes. And then there's one other member that was nominated to be a signatory, and usually that was just because of the proximity. So our former signatories were Henry Bertram, Eddie Rogers, and James Myron Thomas, and they're all not available.
I think we have considerable room for growth, and again, as I mentioned, and Alice is going to talk about later, the new role that the commissioner has for us. So I think it's going to change a lot. I don't think it's going to be overwhelmingly busy, but I think, you know, the vice president, as I envision, the president will work together to get the message out really to the state, get more of the health departments and the boards involved in KALBOH, and starting to implement the kind of a pathway that the commissioner has in mind of, you know, the working together to, again, bring issues and best practices from across the state to, you know, get support at the state level.
Ellen, would you be interested? That would be a Western Kentucky spot.
I guess it would be good to have somebody from Western.
It would be.
So
you're not alone.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as like board engagement, yes, Mr. Tanner. Arba, A-R-B-A. And the last name?
Yeah.
I served with her for 3 or 4 years, or 5, however long, and she's very well qualified, dedicated to the health boards of the state.
Okay, any other nominations?
We'll call for we got a nomination. We have a second. All right.
Oh, you can't second. Sorry. All right, Melody, thank you.
Melody. Second.
Melody Stafford. Ms. Arba Kenner from Franklin County has been nominated for the vice president position. It's been seconded by Melody Stafford. It was not Richard Tanner from Franklin County and nominated her. Motion ceased from the floor, and then any out on TV land?
There was no one nominated virtually.
All right. All in favor?
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, that carries. Thank you.
Secretary, Karen's still willing to, we've got a nomination already for secretary.
Is there another nomination? And who was the nominee?
We just need to have a validation. So
second.
She nominated herself, and
I'll nominate you. Yeah. And Ms. Kenner Arba did the second.
I'm gonna vote we get
recorder.
a recorder. I knew where I was going with that.
Ms. Kenner. This is awesome.
Any other online?
There was no virtual nomination.
And we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, and that carries as well. Finally, we have the Office of Treasurer, and as Allison mentioned before, it truly is a treasurer's position. Although I don't think we don't write a lot of checks. So.
No, you don't. When you look at the finance report, as it stands right now, we write a couple of checks in ALBO. This is for some of our leadership to travel. Mostly it's the busiest time is December through February when membership dues is coming in, and then you pay out the NALBO dues and, some, again, travel expenses that are incurred by executive board members. So it's not a lot of them.
The banking is done with.
The banking currently right now is done with the Bank of Maysville. That was what it was established when our organization was established in 2007. But you know, they have virtual. I mean, you can do an online account. You can do it all online, or you know, as you all want, you can change banks. You know, to have that close proximity. So. What do you think, Melody?
I will.
All right.
All right. Does that mean she nominates herself?
Yeah.
Hurry, nominate her.
I'll nominate Melanie. Yeah, hurry. Is there a second? Okay. Any others?
There's no one been nominated virtually for the office of treasurer.
Did I spell that right, Melanie?
M-E-L-D-Y, S-T-A-F-F-E-N-E,
Yeah. All right, we'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, like sign? All right, well, thank you for agreeing to do that.
And Melanie, I'll schedule a meeting, come up to Three Rivers and bring you all the books and everything and go over.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
There was
It'll be a smooth transition.
There was a couple people that's joined since we did introductions. I'll unmute everyone if they want to introduce themselves.
Okay, if you didn't hear Sean, everyone's unmuted again. We had a couple of people that just joined virtually. If you want to introduce yourself, listen for Sean to call your name and you can introduce yourself where you're from.
I don't know where their names are. I think
Okay,
just a couple. I think Scott Locker was one of them, and I'm not sure who the other one was.
Yeah, hi, this is Scott. I just got out of a local Board of Health meeting, so glad to be participating. Thank you. Kentucky River District Health Department.
Thank you, Scott. And I think there was one or two others that buzzed in. If you want to introduce yourself. Someone's buzzing in right now. Hello, Deborah. Do you want to introduce yourself?
It's an email.
Might be too quick for her.
Pass the window. Stay away from it. You're gonna
It's just unmute.
All right. I will type in the names and locations of the officers in the chat room here, and I'm gonna go ahead and mute everyone.
All right, thank you all very much for those willing to serve in this office capacity for KALBOH.
Let's move on to financial report.
Yep. So the financial report was attached. If you're joining virtually, it was attached a couple of days ago to the agenda, correct, Sean? So you should have access to it. This is the financial report for the year beginning July 1st, 2018 and ending 6/30/2019. Our beginning balance was $34,045. We had total deposits of $14,550. Total debits $6,800, which leaves us an ending balance of $41,795. I just want you to know that I talked to Dr. Andreas as it related to some of the expenses that KALBOH had planned for, and at that point we were still looking to try to find the executive director, and we had some money set aside. There was some delays in getting that. We're hoping to partner, for those of you who are new, trying to partner with CADA and KPHA to get a little bit of executive director time. But that's further down the road than we had anticipated. So with our dues dollars, those of you directors who are on the line, you know that we have jointly hired Babbage Co-Founder, which is an advocacy lobbying firm here in Frankfurt, who is working on the mission of public health and working the legislators and policymakers here. And as it relates to transformation, I really thought it was a good use of our money to pitch in on it's not cheap to hire lobbyists. And so all three of our organizations coming together made the fees manageable for us to do. So KALBOH committed $12,500 to the annual cost for hiring the Babbage team. And that check has been written, but it's not included. It was written after the end of the fiscal year. So I just want you to know that currently in the account is $12,500 less than $41,795. So, and we'll talk
Do we
more
have
about
to
the
do anything else
advocacy.
to accept the financial report or
Yes.
anything like that?
Or
Okay.
if anybody have any questions about the finance report, it's pretty, you see the amount of checks that were written, there's not much. Doesn't mean that as you all grow, it could be bigger, but at this point, it's not that, just being accountable to it. Any questions?
Motion to accept the financial report.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
All right, motion made by Melody Stafford and second by Ellen Burnett. Any other discussions?
All those in favor accepting the report, say aye. Any opposed? All right. Now, membership update.
So we currently have 29 Board of Health members in KALBOH. They range from single county to district boards. Some district boards, like Lake Cumberland, has invested each of their local boards are a member of KALBOH. So Lake Cumberland District Board isn't a member of KALBOH. Every single one of the 10 counties are members of KALBOH. So as the potential to grow, if county boards of health became interested in every board of health member of KALBOH, there's room to grow from 29 to 120. So lots of potential for moving activities and revenue generating for our boards of health members. So, but like right now we have 29 members. Some of them are district offices and some of them are, of course, your single independent boards of health. And for the most part, I'm going to thank everyone out there for continuing to see value in KALBOH, even though you haven't heard much from us. You hear from an annual meeting and a twice annual meeting. So I really appreciate you still sticking with us and having faith that we're going to blossom here at any moment and make sure that you see value in your membership dues. Understanding that your KALBOH dues, your Kentucky affiliate dues, automatically gets you a member dues to NALBO, the National Association of Boards of Health. And so that gives you, you should be getting some emails from NALBO. If you're a brand new member, if they don't have any information on you, you'll get an email, but you can set up a pass account to the platform under NALBO. And we'll talk a little bit about member engagement strategy, but you do get a paid membership to the National Association with your Kentucky Association. So hopefully getting you connected to some of your national colleagues of Board of Health. So 29 members, board members. And then NALBO is also expecting the state affiliate. And what that means is we have a representative from our KALBOH to participate in NALBO's every other month call. And so that you're representing and you're keeping them up to date on what KALBOH is doing or what's happening in Kentucky public health, policy, Board of Health, anything like that, you're on that call and you're connected then to NALBO's all the affiliates across the nation it's an every other month call. Right now, Buddy Gollenstein is serving in that capacity. Those of you who don't know Buddy, first of all, he's my dad. Second of all, he was one of the founding members to develop KALBOH and charter KALBOH. And when he no longer was judge executive, he wanted to stay involved in KALBOH. He's I forget what they call it, but it's a lifetime member of NALBO. I forget what they call it. Emeritus member, that's it, sorry. An emeritus member, and so he's agreed to, he agreed after he no longer was a judge to keep being the affiliate. However, he feels like that it needs to be someone who's active and is making decisions and everything. So this does not have to be an elected officer. It can be any of our KALBOH members who's willing to be the affiliate so that you can communicate what KALBOH is doing, report back, and then report back to your KALBOH what you might be hearing across the nation of like what's happening, how are they reacting to different things, what's happening good or bad in any state. So that's something that really gets you connected to NALBO and keeps KALBOH connected nationally. So think about that if you're willing to, and that's strictly a call. And then it ought to, you know, the annual NALBO meeting, they have a state affiliate meeting, and that's you only have a one-time in-person meeting, and that's in conjunction with the national meeting, and it's usually the day before the conference starts. When is the call? It's during the day. The executive office is in Wisconsin, so it's you know, it's always like you're going to be an hour later than whatever they say. But it's I think it's a Monday. I know it's a Monday, but I don't know which Monday. But I can get that information for you. And the calls, Dad says the calls usually last around 90 minutes, depending on, everybody has, the format of the call is NALBO gives you an update, and then it's like a round robin. You have an agenda, like if Kentucky's first on the agenda, then it's Ohio, and you know exactly when you're able to give your report, and it's like a round robin report, and then open discussion. So anyway, so that needs some thought and a volunteer to participate in that. NALBO's coming up in August, so if you're planning to attend that conference, I'll be happy to make some introductions to the other state affiliates to, you know, kind of get you warmed up to them if that is something that you're interested in. We can have that discussion now, Dr. Andreas, or anything out on the virtual.
If anyone is interested in filling that role, as Allison said, to be participating in that call, I would, you know, I think we haven't set an exact time frame, but looking at maybe KALBOH meetings every 6 months. And so if you could, you know, just have a little synopsis of what those 3 calls were, you know, bring that to the meeting. Pretty much the role of it, I think, is in that national meeting if you're able to attend. I'm going to be attending this year, so if we don't get somebody, if you can't, you know, if you feel like you don't do it because you can't go to that meeting, I can stand in for that part. Would you be?
Sure, be attending.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll be there too.
Yeah.
So we don't have to, we can sit on that.
Yeah,
We'll send out some emails, and, you know,
if anyone is
especially after the conference, those of you who attend the conference and I introduce you, maybe it'll be something that you're like more comfortable to. I can't wait to introduce you to the Nebraska affiliate. She's fantastic, and, you know, very down to earth, and lady from Utah is awesome too. So, you know, it'll be fine.
We have 36 people present.
Yeah.
That's the most we've ever had at a KALBOH meeting. So.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to announce that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the next thing is the NALBO Board of Directors, and this is purely information only because we've already passed the deadline for this current election. But NALBO really values Kentucky, and we've had a board of director twice previous, but for the last 5 years we have not had one. And so they're really looking for someone who's willing to represent Kentucky on the board of directors for NALBO. This is a lot more time commitment, and NALBO sponsored, you know, but you're a Kentucky rep on their board, and you've got to be elected in your region or whatever, but they're looking for someone from Kentucky. This would be something you can think about for a year. But next year, we don't want to miss the opportunity to get someone from Kentucky on the ballot to be a board member. Buddy was a board member in the past, and his name just escaped me. Clee, what was his name? Mr. Clee. Yeah, a gentleman with the last name Clee, worked with the state in the milk branch. Yeah. So anyway, so Kentucky has had national board members, and they're looking for another Kentucky board member. So just that'll be something that as KALBOH goes on through the year, we'll be grooming someone to make those connections and be willing to meet.
Someone tapped in, Judy Mattingly tapped in David Clee.
David Clee, thank you, Judy. David Clee served on the board. So Buddy and David both had stints on the National Board of Directors for NALBO. So that's all I have for that.
Anyone else have any other comments before we move on to the communication with membership?
It's not too late to sign up for the national meeting. It's 11th, 12th, and 13th, right? 11th and 12th and 13th of August in Denver.
14th through 16th.
14th, I'm sorry, yeah, 14th through
16th, yeah.
Forget what I said. Go on the NALBO website. But it's in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah.
Easy then, yeah. Denver in August sounds really appealing. Okay.
Generally speaking, your local health board usually pays for that trip for you. So ours does anyway. I can't speak for anyone else. So they want to go, they hit their director up and say.
And when you get to be the president, KALBOH pays for you. So, you know. Okay.
All right.
Anything else on that
No.
one? We'll go on.
Yep.
I truly hope that one day you all don't have to listen to me in the KALBOH meeting. Someone else can like be the voice of KALBOH. But the communication with the membership.
Yeah.
So Dr. Andreas talked about the public health transformation, and I know the directors on the line and the directors in the room have heard about public health transformation. Those members in the group have the 3 slides of the presentation that Dr. Howard, our commissioner, presented at the statewide Board of Health in January, and I know he's gone across the state to speak with, I think, a majority of our boards of health. Actually, I don't know how many, but he's very passionate about this plan. But what's super exciting is that he's given credence to boards of health as it relates to the community priorities piece. And so if you put these 2 slides together like this, and those on TV land can see this, this is going to take some regulation / statutory change, like big transformation change to establish this. There's nothing written down. This is kind of a conceptual thing so far. But what's exciting about this is the establishment of a group that would review local Board of Health priorities, community priorities, and how we're spending money for the good of public health in our community. And it's a 5-member board established, and the KALBOH president would automatically have a seat on that. So it not only gives credence to our organization, but also we have to be careful who we elect, you know, making sure that there's someone who's a big thinker or who is cognizant of what's happening in Kentucky. So it's really helpful. Try to get me out of the picture if you can.
Post this. Here it is.
It's already stressful to be right here in the camera. But anyway, making sure that, you know, we build our organization so that we live up to the opportunity to be a member when this comes to fruition. So you got it in front of you, but the Commissioner of Public Health serves on it, the CADA president, the Kentucky Association, Health Department Association, KALBOH president, and then 2 university members. So that would make up that board. And even more exciting is that it would evolve and would be a lifetime commitment, and so. But the details of what that position looks like isn't available. I just think it's exciting that KALBOH is getting the recognition to play a part in the transformation plan. So Georgia's in the room, and I didn't talk to her before the meeting, so I'm not going to ask her. I'm just going to ask her to join in on the conversation. I think it's important that KALBOH knows that part of the transformation plan, Dr. Howard has pulled together local health department directors to be kind of subject matter experts on things that need to be systematically changed or reviewed. Maybe everything needs to stay the same, but we've been operating the same way for a long time, and is it a good way, or should we make some changes? And so one of those groups that Georgia and I are chairing is Board of Health Statutes and Regulations. So the statutes and regulations that govern you as board members are getting a look-see at to see if there's something that needs to be changed or altered to match up to implementation of transformation. And Georgia and I have been working on that. We're looking at best practices across the state, but as KALBOH gets going, we would definitely need to have your input when it comes time to actually proposing any particular change. This is just Allison Adams speaking, but Georgia and I've had, this isn't something we systematically proposed by any stretch of the imagination, but if we're having not true transformation, but transformation to social determinants, one of the biggest things is, the board makeup. Can we have it just as it is, but also have, the opportunity to expand? If your board's working exactly how it should be with the makeup it is, that's great and fantastic, and you can keep it that way, but it could expand where other members could be, and it wouldn't be so rigid in the statute. So you could find the people who are willing to be engaged, not just because they have a title. So that we're looking at that. And then the other thing is, we know the successes of other states and other boards is centers around engagement. So how can Kentucky be responsive to be better? I don't know what's the word, to get members and get, to actually engage and, be the change makers, the change agents, be the advocates that we need them to be at a local, state, and national level to move public health policy and transformation. So anyway, I want you to know that as board members, that is something that is being looked at by the commissioner in very close conjunction with directors that will be pulling in Board of Health members to look at as well. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, I would add to that we left on there the recommendation that the county judge executive be still part of it, because I think that the policymakers, and that kind of connection with the money in the county needs to be, in the taxing district needs to be on the board. But we wanted the other folks to have opportunity to be engaged individuals, not necessarily attached to a job. We also put in requirements for CEUs that would be paid for by your health department, and also KALBOH or KPHA. Those opportunities would give you a venue for getting your CEU, so it wouldn't be an issue trying to get them, but we think, it would be a good way to get board members up to speed, because across the state, we have a lot of difference in the knowledge of the board members. Some really know what's going on, and very engaged, and others have had less opportunity for whatever reason to be. And we were just hoping to put some things in place that would get everybody on a more similar playing field, I guess.
Yeah. And if anyone has a question about what the regulations are now, I'll put in a plug for CADA. The CADA website right down at the bottom has a very prominent, so you don't have to hunt around, button for Board of Health resources. And so all the regulations are on that that are in existence right now, plus a lot of other training things for your board. A lot of really good information that's easy to access. KHDA, CADA.
KHDA-ky.org.
I emailed everyone who registered that picture I just sent.
Okay. Sean anyone who registered, who's participating online, Sean just emailed you the 3 slides that I was referring to just a minute ago. Also, could somebody just let me know with a thumbs up that you could hear George's comments as it relates to the board? If you did it, it was a very good discussion, and but I want to make sure that you understood that the positions that we recommend, and we want to make sure is the judge executive, the 2 elected officials that are statutorily required to be on there, the judge executive and a magistrate. Because if you're in tune to state government right now, we're hearing a lot of talk about our taxing authority and our ability to tax, and also taxing without representation. So you hear some of that, and so it's really important that we maintain an elected our officials in there, because that truly gives us the we have representation, elected representation on there. So it's important to keep that. So we recognize that, and we want to make sure that we keep our ear to the ground of like what's the talk at our legislators about what they think boards of health can do, and our authorities and stuff. So, but taxation without representation has been a lot of talk for the last 2 or 3 years. We've had some bills proposed that never went anywhere. So we want to make sure that we have elected representation still on our board.
So to clarify too, I'm understanding there's 2 elected officials, correct?
Yes.
That's what you said. And then as Georgia was saying too, that it's not necessarily by the position, it's by those people that might be engaged, who might not have a representation, may not state community member anymore, or may not state veterinarian.
Engineer, three positions, yeah.
So that's what we're looking at changing.
We're discussing, yeah. And we wouldn't like we would definitely need the input of local boards of health. You know, and KALBOH would be like the platform, just like Kate is the platform for changes. Georgia, the commissioner challenged us to write what we call white papers, and there's 6 different committees. And so just, hey, what do you think about this is the discussion starter. The white papers are discussion starters.
So with that, you two are currently working on that, as far as that committee, time looking at possibly getting any kind of draft.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think we would like to have something for the legislative session, not the one on Friday, but one coming up in January.
So would that come back to us before it goes to the January session?
Well, it definitely could do that. We could definitely share it with you.
I would think we would want to say that as a group.
Yeah. That's why I want this group to become a cohesive, regular, people are, active, so that it's, it makes it important for us to share it with this group and get a stamp of approval and, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, and I think why I'm bringing that discussion up is everybody's district is a different size. So, what can we, and granted their engagements are going to be a little bit different, but I think as you two look at that, get that back to us. We don't necessarily need to meet, but that can be, we talked about before, the emailing, the voting, and discussions that I think can be out there and very strong.
No, that is, I think, one of the sessions at the NALBO is about boards of health putting forward sort of position, or KALBOH putting forward two positions, like position papers on how we feel about things, because there have been places around the country where they've been able to make some really significant changes by letting a lot of times that nobody knows what we're thinking because we don't bother telling them, and so if any of you, folks have ideas about somebody that would be good on the Board of Health to have, a community member, that's the kind of thing that we want to get into, include in that.
Well, I have to say, I'm going to say since our like very previous coming into this, we immediately changed our agenda and have more engagement even by the structure of the agenda change. And I'm so proud of that. I really am, because we used to have very quiet little board meeting, and now pop up and say stuff. So it's important. They feel like they're leaving and they are listening.
And the research has continued to show the more engaged the board is, the better the health outcomes for the community. So, that's awesome, to start hearing that, the engagement. So just changing the agenda or however you, feel has made that happen, that's a best practice that could be shared and definitely shared on a platform that, as KALBOH grows, sharing best practices amongst boards of health members, and it'll be a good for Kentucky if we can get this to be a board member to member organization.
We had a question from Zoom. It said, how soon will there be draft proposal changes?
For Board of Health?
I'm not sure. It's regulations, maybe.
Yeah, so we're not operating on a timeline right now. We're trying to just formulate some ideas. We are Commissioner Howard's leadership and Kata are working very closely together to get something put out there. We know that it's going to take regulation and statute changes to implement transformation. Changing statutes and regulation takes a lot of work and effort. So putting the white papers together, kind of an overview of these are things that have happened. Probably, then we might have to pick and choose some baby steps to get there. And honestly, I feel like that I don't think that the Board of Health regulations or any of that changes would happen this session. More along, what a task force looks like, to have a big overview picture. So we're going to be focused on maintaining the funding we have for public health and making sure that it gets earmarked to foundational core public health. And, as we start having some wins, some small wins, we'll have bigger wins. And, getting into the statutes, we all know run risk of other things happening to that statute. So we got to make sure we have our friends. And so as far as the timeline, I wouldn't look for any changes this year at all. Would you agree, Georgia?
Gail said to make sure that you repeat the questions and the conversation from the audience, that the speaker doesn't pick it up.
Okay.
Which we had Gail, I think it's Gail from my board, join, and Teresa Gamsky also joined. I don't know if they want to introduce themselves. Do you want me to give them the chance to do that?
Sure. Teresa, you want to introduce yourself? You're unmuted.
Or Gail? Gail, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Gail. I'm Gail from Local Board of Health, Taylor County, and I'm the chair of the Lake Cumberland District Department.
I'll go ahead and mute everyone.
Okay. And then the last thing to communicate with you all is the local government engagement. And as the CADA president, I've been going to Local Government 101. That's been sponsored by the Kentucky Association of Counties, KACO, and just sharing with them so this would be all your elected leaders in your county that you've been working with, or have worked with, or will work with, just talking to them about transformation, health policy, tax dollars, where foundational services and core public health, and where do you spend your money to make the biggest bang. So I just wanted to communicate with that in case you've gotten some phone calls, or will get some phone calls from your local elected officials as Board of Health members to say, hey, what are we doing about this? Or, just give it an opportunity to engage with your local government. I'm telling them to contact their director and their boards of health, and, to become engaged with public health. So just wanted to let you know that. That's on the CADA platform, but I can't separate the two, so just want you to know about that. Any questions for me on that?
All right, we'll move on to member engagement strategies.
So Sean, I wanted you to kind of take over, you had some ideas about how do we, some meeting platforms, and how do we get engagement going?
Well, we have 39 people present now, so that's the most engagement that we've ever had. I think as far as engaging the board, a couple of things. We certainly need to encourage the health department directors to communicate to their boards that they represent the value of KALBOH and the opportunities that exist and to participate in KALBOH. And then, us reaching out to the boards ourselves and letting them know that we exist and that there's value and that they can join. That would be good. We do need to communicate to the boards that they can be more involved, and that we're doing legislative advocacy on their behalf, and that we do have meetings and try to keep them up to date on public health activities and things that's going on. So just need to communicate to the boards the value of being a member of KALBOH, and let them know we're present and give them the chance to participate.
Can we send anything out as a letter or an invitation to each individual member?
The question was, have we sent an invitation out to each individual board member to join? I don't know the answer to that.
To join? To join the KALBOH? Yes.
Sarah Jones, but I'm saying, have we as an organization? I'm trying to discuss that as not just coming from your director, but maybe it came from the organization and you're getting a double message, and this is something I really should be a part of. So I didn't know if there's a
comment from the audience is about that on behalf of the KALBOH board, we should probably reach out again to all board members and you know, on behalf of KALBOH itself and let them know that we're here and that we're doing good things.
So, yes.
So I would say that is a very good idea because they hear from me all the time about everything. And so they probably get tired of that. And so it would be nice if somebody else repeat what I'm saying that's different. I think it would be nice if we could get a picture of our newly elected officers and maybe we could send out something electronically from them, electronic postcard.
I wouldn't mind, you know, and maybe we get a network of people sort of around the state. I wouldn't mind going to some Board of Health meetings, you know, if the director would give us a, you know, it would just take a few minutes though. But I think that is one of the things that would help a lot would be to get somebody in those meetings. And so maybe if we could get sort of a network of, so you're not traveling too far, but maybe just surrounding counties.
I'm wondering, when you described the national, where you have a representative from each state and you have routine phone calls, have you thought about getting a representative from a board member that's on a phone call with the Kentucky and do the same, kind of the same phone tree? But I think when you have a board member who is talking about it in the board meeting, it's really different. I mean, I'm speaking for myself, not like we haven't talked about this in the board meeting, but we hear it, and when we're walking out thinking, I don't know what is that?
Yeah.
I get a letter, I don't know what that is. But I think if a board member is engaged in a board meeting, that's different.
So Ellen from Grace County, she just talked about, you know, could we get a board member from each of the member boards engaged to where we have that call. And so there is, remember, you know, I promise you, you know, my best effort I know is not very, very good. So, but we did last year, we started with Sean's idea of, and it's very similar, I think, is to have what we call a designated liaison. So every KALBOH on the application, and I'm going to get back to your comment too, Karen. Every Board of Health board who paid their dues this year, if you saw on the application, it had you to identify who the liaison was. So you had the board chair could be your liaison or just any board member, and then that's who KALBOH would communicate to. And now, have we described what the liaison does? No, we haven't. So that's you know, a to-do list as it relates to you know, that if you are identified as the KALBOH liaison to your member board, your responsibility is to attend the meeting virtually or by phone, come to the meetings, and then report out to your board. You're going to get the email. You're going to get, you know, so you'll be the gatekeeper, if you will, for your boards of health. And so that was identified. There was not really clear, directors in the room or on the line, there really wasn't clear guidelines of what the liaison was, but everybody identified somebody. Some of us were boards of health, I mean, our directors were the liaison. You know, some of them were actual board members. You know, so if you got an email, chances are you're either the chair or you're the designated liaison. so somewhere, you know, but we didn't really give you who was that liaison. So if we had that in place, and you know, the leadership could have those, you know, monthly conference calls or check-ins or emails, or we could put some sort of job description of this is what your liaison does. And then, well, Sarah Jo has a comment. Don't let me forget to answer your question. So.
I was just thinking if we were successful in that, in the participation, we could do the map that has the little person with the contact information of that the established liaison, or the map.
Yeah.
But anyway, it could designate that, and it be something that we distribute, and if they have questions, if Sean's liaison wanted to call Lincoln Trails and ask about what else stuff,
Share who the liaison is.
Yeah.
question too.
You might want to repeat the suggestion.
Just a second, Melanie. So Sarah Jo talked about maybe we would develop, using a Kentucky map. So each Board of Health, you would identify who the liaison is for each Board of Health, so that if you're your neighbor or someone close, representing you, same population, geographic, whatever, you would know who you could call to start communicating and, get it bouncing ideas or whatever. That's pretty much it. So, that's that's easily done, to develop that, because I've got the list in Excel spreadsheet. That's how the emails are going out. So, I mean, that could be easily accomplished and disseminated. I think a job description for the liaison would be a really good thing to do too. Yes, Melanie.
I think a white paper of sorts or speaking points. For instance, I've been in public health for a long time, but as in relationship to KALBOH, if I were sitting at a table as a board member and I'm going in to talk to them about KALBOH, one of the questions they obviously have is, what can KALBOH do for me? What does it offer? And is there something that we can, have talking points? This is what KALBOH can do for you. Because that's what everybody wants to know. What is it going to be to my advantage to be a part of your organization?
To that point, you probably not just for the organization to get new members, but also talking points back to report back.
Yeah. So this kind of answers both of your questions. So if you didn't hear Melody, she talked about can we have a white paper of talking points, or what's the value added for being a member of KALBOH, so that if you are a liaison, or if you're willing to go talk to other boards, you have something to go from. KALBOH has a brochure that shows all of that. It's a trifold brochure that, I think it was, time gets away from me, but I think it was 3 years ago campaign, that every Board of Health, so she has it. There's a copy of it. Slide it down, pass it down. Thank you. Anyway, the campaign went, every judge executive in the state of Kentucky got the invitation to join KALBOH, the brochure, and then a letter from the then president of the organization, Henry Bertram, explaining them, the membership. And that's where we got the most growth in membership. We doubled our membership. Everything that I have historically done on behalf of KALBOH, I've copied the directors. So, making sure that they're informed of what, the board members are getting or their judges getting. One of the biggest undertaking, and, I don't know if I could ever do it again, was trying to get all the contact information of every Board of Health member across the state of Kentucky. That was something that I thought KALBOH could do as a service so that you would have access to, but there's not currently there's not a good way to get every member, because even at this point, even the state doesn't have a one single database of every board member. That is something that we have talked about collaborating with the state to try to get that. But so having up-to-date contact information, because boards change, they could change. Some of us never change, but some of us change every 2 years or every year. So keeping that up to date, there's not a good database for that. Right now, the best contact is the judge executive, who has the statutory authority to be on the board, but might not actually ever attend a meeting. But that's the only way to have a single most line, and that's been done through the Kentucky Judges Association. They've been very willing to send anything out. So all the annual membership for KALBOH goes to the director or the liaison if they're established, and every judge executive annually. The letter to invite and the application.
Dr. Howard's office the state approves every board member with the exception of the judge and the fiscal court appointee, but we traditionally go ahead and send in the biography sheet on them anyway, so they'll have the demographic information. I wonder if we could call upon Dr. Howard to add a field on the biography sheet to put in an email address. and then ask them to go ahead, because, you know, they know when people go off and they know when people come on, to go ahead and create a master list that we could share.
And that's what I'm, that's what I'm talking about. Like Kyra, when, you know, Kyra Vermillion took over putting that together, and she's trying to get it more up to date and get a database established. So she's working on that. So I think that's
maybe our president could talk with Dr. Howard about that. But
I think it's in the works, and nobody is against it. It's a lot of work, you know, and there's also some confidentiality things, and, you know, it's their personal, you know, so it's something that we definitely have to work together to make that happen.
The boards don't generally want their private emails shared broadly. My boards don't. So when I send an email to my board members, I keep a list of mine, but I always send it blind CC so that, you know, they know that their email address is kept private. So, you know, something like that. I mean, we would need to be sensitive to the fact that we've got, you know, people that doesn't want their email addresses shared. You know, physicians may not want everybody to know and the judges or whatever, you know.
So your question, I think I answered, is like every year on the membership drive. It comes out in the late November, 1st of December, depending on how busy I am. but it comes out and it's sent to all the current members, the current member board, whoever is identified as the contact, all the directors, and the county judge executive. The membership drive goes out. So that's how we, you know, the president writes the letter. It's on CADA letterhead. It doesn't come from me. It comes from the president, and it's sent out.
So we're running January fiscal year, correct?
Yeah. We're a calendar year, January. Yes, Richard?
Maybe our board kind of ties in. How are the dues established? Is it same rate? Is it different from the budget?
It's the same rate, $500 for any Board of Health member. And that's been what it was since the inception. And I wasn't around when they determined that was what it was going to be. But again, it's the organization is more involved as you get, you know, the review of bylaws, the review of dues. It's, you know, it's as the organization, we've just been, you know, kind of going as is for quite some time. But that's how it was established, the charter. The only change that has been in the dues, and I don't know what year it took effect, but there was a $500 governing board and then a $250 non-governing board membership. And they didn't feel like it needed to be separate, that they were all valued members, and so they just did it. And then the $500 covered the NALBO fee. So.
Each individual board, except for the independent health departments, have 12 members. So if you sign up your individual health department, the $500 pays for all 12 members. So I guess that's why the fee's the same regardless of the board, because most of the boards have 12 members. Of course, a governing board is different, but I would encourage everyone to do what we did and let the individual boards sign up so all of them can participate.
So good question. Okay, then the last thing under the member engagement strategies is, so with our paid membership dues, to every individual board has access to NALBO, this is confusing, NALBO's KALBOH platform. So we basically have a Blackboard-like type membership advantage to you go through the NALBO website, so it's kind of like a Blackboard communication tool that we have not utilized at all. You know, those of you who've been in the NALBO website, it's password protected so far, so you have to be a member to get some of that information. And you know, if you don't have a password, it's easy. You send an email to them, they identify that you are a member of the paying board, and they send you your temporary log-on and password, and you know, then you have it. But everyone originally got a password, and if you haven't logged on, you probably forgot it. And so it's a simple process. But again, it's a potential communication platform for the technologically savvy people. And is there a necessary reminder email? You know, CADA has just launched, you know, we've got a platform to communicate. We've got groups management. NALBO would do all the management piece, but, you know, it would basically take us to remember to log in, and it's just another NALBO membership benefit that we haven't full use of, just, again, you know, because we haven't really pushed it and promoted it. So there is that opportunity out there as well to grow.
Any other comments on the engagement strategies?
Mr. Tanner, can I call you out for a second? So I just, you know, Steve Bing, our former executive director, he spoke very highly of you. And also, but what stood out most of what he said is that I really needed to make sure that I got Richard Tanner engaged in KALBOH. And so, yeah. So, you know, he really felt, I don't know if you expressed interest, but I'm glad you're here. You know, not to single out, I'm glad everyone's here. But Steve did make a comment to me that, you know, Richard Tanner can really help us with KALBOH. And I don't know.
Well, I was going to ask a few questions on the executive director advocacy plan.
Okay.
But have you got there yet?
Well, we can move right to it because.
Y'all, I understood from earlier conversations that you all have engaged my advocate or the advocacy firm to represent, I think, 3 groups. That's the one that the partners themselves, maybe one. I guess $12,500 each or whatever. The fees unimportant. Who directs him?
So our executive director will be.
Our executive director.
Yeah.
And you probably want to repeat that question.
So well, Dana, at this point, so good question. So the fee is split different. The total was $50,000 for a year. CADA is the biggest contributor of $32,500. KPHA is $5,000, and KALBOH was $12,500. I think that's the breakdown in my head. And so because the CADA has much to gain, the most to gain with transformation and mostly our funding. We want to make sure somebody's advocating for our funding and, you know, the statutes and everything. So especially in the special session and our pension and everything. So they're pitching in the most. And then with the policies and advocacy and the funds, we couldn't afford the total cost. It was, you know, splitting it, you know, we're all in rough. So KALBOH has pitched in $12,500 because it's policy. And then KPHA is the least because they're more of a member group and, you know, it helps with pension and everything, but they need an advocate, but not as much at this point. Yeah.
CADA is Kentucky Health Department.
Oh yeah, CADA is the Kentucky Health Department Association. Of course, KALBOH, the Association of Local Boards of Health, and KPHA is the Kentucky Public Health Association. So who's direct? And I'm gonna.
You want to make it clear we're talking about hiring the advocacy
yes,
firm.
The question is the advocacy firm, the hiring of the advocacy firm, and who directs them. And so the answer to that is they'll be working very closely with the now executive director for KPHA and CADA. KALBOH currently doesn't have an executive director. So,
This director.
Yeah, Dana. So I'm glad you said that. So as soon as Dana understands that, as soon as she understands her role and gets her feet wet in KPHA and CADA, that we will formalize the partnership, CADA, KPHA, and KALBOH together to have that.
We all not meet on a weekly basis during the session. You want to start Friday.
Yep, well, we haven't, the BR19 hasn't been, we've seen a version of it, but we haven't seen what's actually coming out. But the Babish team has been, they have been working relentlessly for us, even since they just got hired July 1st. So they're doing what they promised to do so far, got us into meetings, and they are representing us at the special session. We attended a meeting yesterday, a Babish, Karen, That's not right. Rebecca Hartso and Dana and I attended the meeting that the Democrats put forth of their bill that everyone's aware of, that they have something out there that's different from the governor's bill. But so to directly answer your question, our Dana will be directing and partnering with the Babbage Advocacy Group, and then they will provide us, in the sessions. When the sessions happen, it'll be a more frequent report, but as we're building partnerships outside of the session, updates of this is what we talked about, this particular whatever program, whatever they work on, they'll be providing us with updates that we'll be able to distribute to our membership.
We'll be very happy, and y'all talk briefly about that up here under your statutes and regulations. Constantly during the session, somebody got to keep her advised, or she's, they got a lot of bill tracking services now.
Yeah.
You can keep up pretty much.
Yes.
And it's instant. We are for this, or we're not for this sometimes. We don't have time.
Yeah. So yes.
In actual fact, I feel okay with this.
Yeah. I wish everybody, that's something that, as not only for KALBOH, but from CADA standpoint, we know how fast things change, and we also know that sometimes decisions have to be made. So even within our own organization, we struggle, yes, CADA is for this, or CADA, and then, so.
I may not be able to stay here, but I really think you're going in the right direction. We've got to be proactive, especially legislation. I think you should, I would suggest that you get as many people around and come up with some things that you want. To talk about it, that like something we might. I think tax e-cigarettes and put all the money in the retirement plan for the other.
Right. So thank you, Richard. For those, the comment was, we believe that we're going in the right direction. We got to be proactive, policy-driven, being advocates, or not being afraid to ask, and to kind of not be reactive, start being proactive, and So anyway, so thank you. I appreciate that. But I just want you to know, Steve spoke very highly of you, and when I saw you pull up in the parking lot, I was very happy that you've taken the time to join, and I hope that, I really do hope that as we continue down the path, this organization comes to a life of its own that raises to the level that I believe it can be.
Have a suggestion that we email all the handouts out as PDFs to all the members and all the directors to share with the board members.
I can do that, or you can do that.
Who can do that?
You can do that.
I can do that if you give them to me.
You have them all. Huh?
We also do the minutes, the financial statement, all the handouts.
Together.
So
you'll get we'll email out to the if you got an email about this meeting, you'll get an email with all the information, and I'll crosswalk that with the people who are present in the on the current meeting today to make sure I have that contact.
I have 32 people that signed up for the meeting, and we've had 40 participate. So there's 8 people different.
Somebody must be making phone calls.
So
hey,
some people just joined in by a link without registering.
Okay. So I think we've already talked about the executive director. So there's only a few of you who have been at the previous kind of business meeting that we're participating in today, last year. But the thought was that CADA really needs, or KALBOH really needs an executive director, at least part-time, or someone that's, kind of managing us, for what we need. And the idea came up, and we even had some meetings with Steve Bing, who was our former director, of can this roll into this office, be more formal? And so KPHA leadership at that time, CADA leadership at that time, were like, yeah, we think we can make that happen. KALBOH was excited, we're ready to pitch in, we have to figure out the time, how much time and how much we pay and whatever. Well, we just haven't got to that point yet. It was a delay in hiring our new executive director. I know we got it right, so I'm excited about that. But I think at this point we need to, she's involved, she's going to be involved, but formally involved. I think we need to give her at least 6 months, if not a year, to make sure she gets CADA and KPHA duties, and we'll continue to work very closely with her, and I'll continue to work very closely with Dr. Andreas and the new elected board to get this transition. But we are acutely aware that we need at least at minimum a part-time. Now, we all just have to remember that that costs money, and so that means that we have to grow our membership in order to pay for an executive director. So everybody who's been in that capacity has been all but volunteer, or it's part of their job as their health department director, or so we just got to keep that in mind. Yeah, we need it, but we got to pay for it too, and so that means growing our membership. So she's going to be here, and hopefully we'll be able to attend our meeting. But to formalize that that's kind of still down the process. But instead of setting on the money that we had set aside, we thought, Dr. Andreas and I thought, the best use is to purchase this advocacy partnership to help us be in tune with what's going on in state government on a regular basis. Somebody is there representing us. So,
when you join, how many years are you joined for? Is it annual or?
Join what?
When you join KALBOH?
Annually.
So if all 120 counties join, that's $60,000 a year. That would be a pretty good amount of money to be able. We don't spend a lot of money. That would just be able to do it to pay for some administrative things. So reaching out to those other boards would enable us to have the revenue to do the extra we need to do.
Absolutely.
Can I make one more suggestion before I leave? And I'll stop interrupting. The executive director here, or whoever you all may have, part-time position, somebody here needs to contact, email list of Keiko, and I'm reading Shelly Hampton, their legislative agent, or others over there, but she would be the contact person, or a lady named Andrews. And let them email you when they're having their legislative meetings, and it's open, you can attend, you can probably be very careful in that, and you can bring every bill up that affects county governments, and that includes the health department.
You want to repeat it?
You can keep up, or they'll act, you can obviously speak on any of them you want to, and I recommend that you do that.
All right, so Mr. Trainer also recommended that we, develop and foster a partnership with and get involved on their legislative work, their legislative committee, and be able to present. Kentucky Association of County Officials. So to get involved and make sure that they know we're present and continue to work with them. So we'll do that. I know that we've been working with Shelly Hampton, and CADA has been getting some invites to the legislative committee, but well, it's kind of like, again, I'm getting the invitation as CADA president, but I can't separate our public health. So we are working on that, and actually next week I'll be taking Dana to introduce her to our KACO friends over there and get her involved and share contact information. So we're on board with that, but certainly we want to keep building our friends.
Almost every, I don't know if it's every, but almost every health department, purchases some of their insurance through KACO. So, the boards, at least indirectly through their health department, have relationships with KACO.
Well, every judge is meeting magistrates. I don't know this. So
and the judges are all on our boards.
So we roll the love engagement.
Right there. Yeah.
So Allison, I apologize.
Yeah.
But explain to me again, we don't have a KALBOH executive.
We do not.
So.
Okay. So.
Real fast. I'm not sure any. I'm speaking for everybody.
Okay. So last year we started talking about we needed a paid executive director, someone holding us together. And we don't have a lot of money, but we needed it. So then meaning KPHA, CADA leadership, and KALBOH leadership, Henry Bertram, and then when he came on, Georgia was in the conversations as well, and then our former KADA executive, KPHA and CADA executive director, Steve Bing, we started talking, could that office take some of the executive director roles, and so it'd be serving 3 organizations instead of 2 organizations. And so the answer to that was, yes, we think that that can happen. We would have to, formalize it and make sure that we knew this is how much time KALBOH got, how much CADA got, how much KPHA got. Well, in that whole process, Steve resigned. We were trying to find a new executive director. It took us longer than we anticipated. And so we, Sarah Jo at the time and me at the time, said we can't formalize this yet. We got to make sure we get this executive director right. So that's on hold. But we had already planned to spend money to support an executive director. So since we hadn't had that, now the acting president and I had the discussion that we would spend that money on advocacy instead of paying an executive director that didn't exist at the time. So
we also have meetings with CADA and with KPHA, if they were in agreement with that too, the boards and executive committees and all that, and they agree, yes, I think this is something we want to pursue down the road.
So
everybody's agreeable to it.
So the long-term plan is getting there. It will eventually happen in some, executive director capacity in somewhere in the KPHA CADA office. And then as we grow, that might become too much, but that's, Dana knows that down the road, that would be something that would become part of her role as we formalize, but we're not there yet. Does that make sense? Clear as mud? Okay. I say then the last thing on the executive director, then the advocacy is those in the room, and I know all the directors have this as well, is the advocacy plan for that the Babbage co-founder group put together. And this is just kind of like the 10,000 view of what they believe, and they call these buckets of like what needs to happen and what some of the action items are they would do over the next year for us. And then on the back of your sheet, written in red, are the overarching goals. The long-term result of their work. I shouldn't say nobody. This is a lot of work to get done in a year. So we might need them more than a year. We might need them, I don't know. But we've got enough to fund them for a year and see where we go and move forward. But I wanted to share this plan. This is their plan, and they will be presenting to CADA on July the 23rd, an hour presentation that I certainly could probably open up to, and it'll be virtually to open up to board members to attend that as well, to just kind of tell you what the nuts and bolts of this actually mean, what their action items, what they are doing. But I can tell you they've been in contact with me. They've talked to different legislators already. They've got us a meeting that we've not been able to get, and they were very well received yesterday with us. So there's lots of things that are happening, and I already see that it's going to be our money well spent. But that's the advocacy plan. Any questions about that? Any other questions about that? We're doing great on time.
Yeah. Next is announcements. Do you have any?
NALBO conference.
Yeah.
In the middle of August. It's not too late to sign up. Denver, Colorado. It's a good opportunity. I know Ellen attended her first one last year, and she's coming back, so that's a good testimony. It's just a good opportunity. You've been to many of them.
Yes.
It's just a good opportunity to see what's happening around the nation that you can bring back and implement, locally. I know you've probably heard you've attended, or your directors have attended NACHO, which is the national platform for directors and local health officials to see best practices. And then there's the best practices for how boards make that happen, policy, whatever. So that's the NALBO connection. It's more that policy driven instead of operational. So anyway, that's happening in the middle of August.
And even if you don't have the official sign-on to NowBo, you can get all that information about the conference just by going to the website. It has all the sessions and everything there.
Any other comments about the meeting? Thank you all for being here, and wow, it's amazing to have this attendance and this interest in KALBOH. I think the virtual meeting was a success. Thank you, Sean, for willing to do this. I can't wrap my head around technology, and so to be having to do that, I'm very appreciative when someone's willing to step up and do that. So anytime that someone requested, I think it was Jen requested, is this going to be virtual? And I was like, yes, if I can find someone to do it. I have so I don't have any qualms about virtual. I do think that there's value in an annual face-to-face meeting, and I think there's value in actually seeing a face with a name, but there's also very much value in being respectful for travelers too. So I do understand that. So as KALBOH moves forward, you know, you can establish that that happy medium for getting face-to-face and virtual meeting. Next meeting date, I guess, will be to be determined. If we go by precedence, we wouldn't have another meeting until January. But I have confidence in our new elected leadership that you all will get together and see if we need to have a powwow in between now and then to just keep us motivated and moving. And I really like your idea about the liaison. So the phone tree, yeah.
A schedule on the tree.
Any other comments? Yes.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Melody.
Is there a second?
Who we got? Second? Ellen.
Ellen. All those in favor, say aye. All right, thank you.